Okay, we should be live. Yay. And we're muted. Perfect. How are you?
I'm good, Lynn. How are you?
I'm good too. Nice to see you as usual. And I'm excited for you to share all of your wisdom with anyone and everyone who wants to learn more about skincare and clean beauty. Um, People, may be watching or may want to listen later. So thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just jump in. So Ebru, Dr. Ebru is the founder of a beautiful skincare brand called AveSeena. Is that, am I pronouncing it
Oh
correct?
yeah, that is it. AveSeena's.
Okay, AveSeena. And she's currently at Clara Beauty Lab in New York City on the Upper East Side, but also going to be joining Verde Market in Miami. There are three locations. So if anyone sees this and is thinking, where can I get it? Those are great places. You can also get on her website. I'll put all that in the notes, so you don't have to worry about it. But I just find your products are super interesting, highly effective, highly effective and clean, which is tricky in skincare. But because of your background, you were able to figure all this out. So let's talk about your journey a little bit and just like how you even got going into this whole crazy thing.
Uh, I'm not gonna start with like my skin was like this. That's why I got into this. Everybody has that story, right?
That's
Uh,
true.
but mine was mostly I was pissed off. I was pissed off at the beauty market. I was pissed off at the big companies because I was a student when I was going through this. I was doing my PhD in immunology and molecular medicine. And my research during that time was how estrogen impacts immune system, inflammation, why women have stronger immune system, and why do they get more autoimmunity, and what happens during menopause, all that. So when you're younger, you don't realize, but your skin still goes through a lot of stuff. And I was mad. I was so mad because I couldn't find one skincare product that worked for me, which sounds cheesy, but it's true. So I started reading all the articles and I realized that all the big brands, the masstige and the luxury, great packaging, great ads, but when you look at the ingredients, I'm sorry, they're crappy. They have one hero ingredient, does nothing because you're looking at the ingredient list. It gets way below, what is that?
Yep.
0.01% in 100% formulation. So I got mad. I started reading, I started learning cosmetic chemistry, formulation, all that, and started creating my own products, and it started working. And my father, he was a transplant surgeon.
Hmm.
My mom is an oncologist pathologist.
Wow.
So hardest audience you can pitch it to. So
Yes.
like my skin looks better. And my dad was like, what are you doing? Why does it look so good? What did you do? And because he was curious, because I had to deal with cystic acne all my life. We didn't have Accutane back then. And I wouldn't recommend Accutane to anyone right now, but at one point they had to get me on erythromycin for 15 days to calm everything down. And that's a heavy antibiotic. So my
Yeah.
dad was like, your face looks good. That's coming from a surgeon. And then he made me sit down and explain it. And we talked for hours, hours. He was like asking this science, are you considering this? And this is the 2000s, by the way. Nobody in the beauty industry was talking about skin barriers. Nobody was talking about skin microbiome. Nobody was talking about the immune system and how the body was reacting. And he was asking me these questions. Did you consider the gut microbiome? Did you consider this? Did you do this? Are you thinking about the transepidermal changes and blah, blah, blah? I was like, yeah. And we're going over papers. And then he said, you have something here. You have to share this with the people. Go. And that's how we started, because I mean, we can say this. It was vetted by a surgeon who was a hard ass, which was my dad.
Ah,
Okay? And he was like Frank Sinatra hard ass. So he was fantastic. He passed away 4 years ago. But he's been still an inspiration in everything I do because he would say, you need to share the science, you need to share the ethics, you need to be transparent, and it needs to be for the good of the people. Otherwise, don't do it. And he would spiritually kick my butt if I did something wrong.
I mean, what a story. I didn't know that. Okay, fascinating. My dad was a similar, very ethical, very like, and he really ingrained that in me. And my dad passed away in 2018. Sounds like similar around
Yeah.
timing yours did. But I do, it's weird how you still feel like they're watching over sometimes. And I
Oh,
get
they never go away.
and
It's
yeah,
just a transition of energy. It's law of
yeah.
thermodynamics. That's pretty much it.
So interesting. So, okay, so you said a lot of things there that I want to dig into because I do think we want to talk about the industry because you're right. It's super dirty and it was dirty when you launched and it's dirty now. And it was dirty. I started well, one of the reasons I wanted to start my brand was to kind of reset the karmic balance because I did the advertising for some of the brands that you're probably saying were super dirty. And at the time, I didn't really think about it or know because it was 20, 30 years ago, right? And then now I'm sort of horrified because some of these brands were incredibly toxic and still are. And yet they're still being sold and people don't really understand. And okay, let's talk about your comment though about ingredients because the whole thing about the active ingredient being 0.01% and it's really not doing anything. Help people understand that because even knowing how to read an ingredient label is helpful when it comes to beauty and and how they're supposed to be in order of volume or quantity or but they're not always, I found. Some
Well,
labels are deceptive.
let's talk about how they write an ingredient labeling. So this is going
Yeah,
into compliance and cosmetic formulation. So let's say you have an ingredient listing, right? It says ingredients, then let's say water, and then there's an oil and blah, blah, blah. So technically an ingredient listing should go from the highest percentage of ingredient in the
yeah,
formula to the lowest percentage. However, based on the European Council rules, Japanese, Canadian, and United States, anything lower than 1%, you can organize it any way you want. Not a problem. So let's say you have five ingredients that is higher than 1%, but after 1%, if you want to have, for example, an XYZ ingredient look higher, which is going to be in the middle, then you can move it there and then move the others below if you want to. So that's how it is. And that's kind of scary because that means you
yeah.
can do anything. But an ethical brand would still, after 1%, would list it. Okay,
In
I
the
have
order.
this at 0.9%, but I
Yes.
have at 0.5%, so ethical brand would list it that way. That's what we
Yeah.
do. And for the listeners, what does 0.1% may look like? For example, if you have an ounce of cream, let's say, that 0.1% in 1 ounce cream would look like a tiny little drop of water. That's
Mm.
how little it's gonna be. So to put things into perspective.
No, it's very helpful because I don't think a lot of people really know that or understand that. And so it can be very confusing or misleading when you look at ingredient labels and you think that there's these active ingredients in there, to your point, that are going to do a lot. And then there's also the challenge around the way the formulation is actually put together and what things interact with other things. Because sometimes things actually like counteract each other.
Exactly.
So, it's like you may think you're getting all these really good ingredients and then they're not really doing anything.
Exactly.
Or the molecules are too big, they're not actually getting into your skin, they're just sitting on top.
Yeah. Yeah,
That,
so there is that too. So a good formulator would know which ingredients would work with each other because here's the thing, you have all this information on PubMed on if there is a research about it, and then your supplier would have the data, especially for actives,
yeah,
to show at this percentage, we tested this, for example, let's say it's an anti-aging ingredient like a peptide, and they will have the pictures and everything. However, I want to also clarify one thing about studies. Everybody talks about clinical studies, right?
yeah.
So, clinical studies, I'm a scientist, it can be very subjective. You can change one thing and everything can change. You can select a certain group of women, say 30 to 40 years old, and then do they smoke? What do they eat? What do they do?
Right.
So that result can change. So I don't believe in clinical results too much because as a scientist, I know you can change the results by changing the experimental, inputs and
Yeah,
outputs will change. So I like to ask sensory questions to the real users. Do you like this? How do you feel? Does it feel smooth? Were you happy when you were using it? Did you feel your skin was getting better? Those questions makes more sense to me because everybody is going to be different. So if you have a population of users, say US, Europe, and let's say Japan, those microbiomes, skin microbiomes are going to be different because they're of eating habits, their lifestyle and everything, even the water, right? But if your cream or your product is making happy the women in US and Europe and Japan, now you're onto good something. Now that is more important. That's why, for example, Dior does those sensory surveys and some
yeah.
of those products you can see. So yeah, I mean, the industry is
Love that.
interesting.
That's super smart and interesting because you're right. At the end of the day, who's a better judge for what it's doing to your skin than you? Like, and you know what sets your skin off, and you know when your skin looks good, and you know when it doesn't. So you're right. Like, that is very, very compelling. And I don't really think I've seen many skincare brands do that. Um, where,
Sensory surveys, yeah,
yeah,
because clinical tests are expensive.
yes,
They're very expensive. So let's say you have a woman during summer, you're giving a cream, their skin is not going to be as sensitive as winter. So when you give the same cream during winter, the results you're going to be different because you're not keeping this person in the lab 24/7 under
right.
controlled conditions. They're
Yeah,
going out, they're eating, they're doing stuff. So the results are going to be different. But sensory perception is better. It's more honest. It's more transparent, if you ask me.
yeah. I love that. Okay, so now I think we can go into a little bit about the industry and how it's changing because I feel like we're sort of talking about that. Let's talk about clean beauty and what you see is the evolution. Should there be an evolution? Is clean beauty dead? I mean, we read all these different stories.
Almost dead. It's almost dead.
Almost dead.
Here is
Okay.
why. Here's why. Because even the big brands are saying they are clean beauty, but I'm looking at the ingredients, I'm like, I'm not so sure about that.
Mm,
Because it has become a marketing gimmick. And, like according to European Council regulations, you can't use certain ingredients.
yeah,
Europe was already doing that clean beauty for a long time. And United States just with the indie beauty brands, because that's where people said enough, and that's how the indie, which is the independent beauty brands, came out, right? However,
yeah,
that is now, I think, getting over to we're more moving into more scientific beauty, where there is data behind each ingredient, active ingredient, and it's not like you're going out there and getting calendula flowers from the field and putting them into the cream anymore. People
mm,
want to see the data. They want to see authentic data. And also, clear beauty. I think clear beauty is coming. And here's why. Because as we were talking before, transparency is very important. What is going on behind every jar you buy? Because nobody is rich enough to buy bad products, cheap products. Nobody's rich enough to buy products that do not work. They want to see the transparency. So you do not have the freedom of not writing the ingredients, not explaining what they're doing, and saying, oh, yeah, this is clean beauty. It doesn't work that way. I'm a consumer and I want to see everything and I want to see the person behind it and I want them to explain the science. So here's the thing. So Avicenna, we focus on the science of inflammation. We're the first, right?
yeah,
There is a lot of brands picking up, we're doing inflammation. Great. Please do it. I really want to see the science and the information to get out. But You cannot do this just for doing it, just for saying it. Come with the science, come with the expertise. If you are a marketing person, you do not know anything about immunology because this is not your specialty. I'm
Yeah.
an immunologist. I'm not going to know marketing like that person. This is the transparency. So customers, consumers are not stupid. This is where the clear beauty comes in. When we start respecting the IQ and the EQ of the consumer,
Mm.
now that's a good brand. Now that's ethical. That is clear. That's how it is for me.
I love that. That's such an interesting evolution because the consumer's been in the driver's seat, let's face it, for years now. I mean,
Hmm.
once social media became not a trend, but a reality, I think it's just too easy these days for consumers to out any brand for doing anything they don't like.
Yes.
Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's not fair, but so the idea around transparency is also not new, but it's really about, in my opinion, like your actions and you're walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So it's not just transparency in like your ingredient label. That's one thing, but it's like the whole business, right? It's like how you source your product, how you create your packaging, how you go to market, how it's all that stuff. And that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around, I think. Because it's a lot.
A lot of
A
moving parts. It's a lot of
lot of
moving.
moving parts.
Like a big company can buy tons of ingredients, and they're supposed to be used fast. But an indie beauty brand has to buy everything in small quantities and go through it fast, because you can't keep all those ingredients on the shelf because look, COVID happened, everything stopped. A big brand like a L'Oreal can absorb that um, impact, but an indie brand can't. And that's kind of good for the consumer because then, okay, whatever I'm getting from them, it's fresh. They made it maybe a couple months ago. This one has been sitting on the supermarket shelf, but I don't know how long. So I like fresh stuff.
Yeah, that's another good point because some stuff has expiration dates because they're mandated, like sunscreens, but other things don't. And so you don't really know all the time, like, has something been sitting around? Does it matter? Is it, yeah, so that's an area for sure where we could drive some more transparency and transition to clear beauty, as you say. But let's talk specifically about your products because I want to dig into those a little bit more. Where did you start? What was the first product that you created? How did you come about that? And then how did you sort of think about your line and launching new products? And now you've got devices. So it's
Yes.
not even just about the formulas and putting stuff on your skin. It's the devices that can also enhance that. So yeah, I know there's a lot there to unpack, but
Well, my first product I wanted for myself was a good cream, an easy cream that
yeah,
worked during day, during night because I don't have the time. And before I had my kid, I had some time. Now I have no time.
yeah.
So Ageless Perfection Cream was one of the ones I really wanted to work as hard and as efficient as possible. So with that, you can use it during the day and night. You don't need a day and a night cream. And here's why. Whichever anti-aging you put on your face during the day, your face is too stressed, it's too stressed to deal with all the factors that are coming from outside. So the main point it does during the day is to protect itself, to understand what's going on, so it will give you the sensory input. But when you go to sleep, you're shutting down. Like you go, like think like a computer, right? Your brain goes into the sleep node. When you're sleeping, you start going into the REM cycles. The deeper you go, the better, because then the growth hormone starts going up. And that's when the night creams or anything with an anti-aging peptide starts working. Because now the skin doesn't, and your body and your brain doesn't have to deal with all the other sensory inputs that coming from outside. So that's why how we designed our products was It helps you during the day. It also works at night because one, you don't have enough time to put 10 different steps on your face. Two, put 10 different steps, see what's going to happen 5 days later, you're breaking out. I don't want you to go through that.
Yeah.
And four, every ounce of product should work. It should be effective and it should be worth your money because I'm not rich enough, you're not rich enough. I mean, I wish we had all the money to spend and have a wedding at Venice and close the city for
Ah,
$1 million. Not gonna happen. Even if that's happening, Venice is not good at this time, it's too hot. But, that's the thing. So the devices, technology is here. Why not use it? So
yeah.
the thing is, with the UV Shield facial analyzer, we were thinking about a sunscreen. Then I changed my mind because everybody's sunscreen is their own holy grail. You go through so many sunscreens until you find the right one. But how do you know you applied the sunscreen correctly? That whole your face is covered. Or
Right.
how do you know you removed it correctly? So this little device shows you that. You flip it on, it turns it on, and then you can see the damage, UV damage on your face before you put the sunscreen. And after you put the sunscreen on, it's going to look all black, and you're going to say, okay, I'm covered.
Yeah.
So that one doesn't have any picture saving capability, and there's a very good reason for that because I use it on my 4-year-old, and I don't want her pictures to leak onto internet because there's
Uh,
weird people out there. And there's
yeah.
no apps with that because I am tired of having zillion apps on my phone. The easier, the better, you know?
I know. I agree. Like brands, I don't think need apps these days,
No,
please.
no, you don't. And the last equipment we come up with is Anka Face and Body Device. That is a lead therapy and also an EMS ultrasound and radio frequency device. We have red light, blue light, and pink light. And here's why. I wish we could take our face to the gym, but it's impossible. And as we get older, thanks to the gravity, all the muscles start sagging or we get wrinkles. I'm the sagging guy, but I don't have wrinkles, but it sags and it's going to get worse as I get older. So I need a way to work out my face. And this device helps you work out your face. So it's on Instagram. I did it one side versus the other. You can see my one side is going up, the other one is like, should I get with the program or should I follow the gravity? It's going down. I mean, you can see I'm literally melting. So that device, you can use it on your face. You can use it on your body to work against the cell light and everything. And it's travel friendly. You can take it anywhere.
Okay, so who wouldn't need that? I mean, that just sounds like the perfect solution. And can you use it with any skincare product? How does that work?
You need the gel. For sure, you need the gel
Okay,
because that's how it conducts. So we have two gels, one for the face with the peptides and niacinamide and everything, and one for the body that has anti-cellulite ingredients and whatnot. So you can use those. But if you want to get more out of it, what you can do is you can take the gel and then if you have a water-based another serum, you can drop it like a drop in it, mix it, and then apply it. That's that easy. So
great.
I like people to have their own creative freedoms, you know?
Yeah, well, because people will do it anyway, So it's like if you just create products that sort of accommodate their behaviors, it's a lot easier than trying to get them to change their behavior. It's just people just don't. Okay, so when did you launch these products and how do you even go? I don't even know. How would I even go about making a device? That's like to me, like, oh my God, so difficult. So
It's a
how did,
lot of work.
yeah,
It's a
like,
lot
how
of
did you
work.
even find a partner that you trusted to do it?
It was a lot of work. Let me leave it at that. And being a scientist doesn't help. And my husband is also an engineer and a computer whiz and a supercomputer guy. And I was like asking, was like, is this doable? Is this possible? People like, this doesn't make sense, you know?
Yeah.
So we
But at
would
least you
go,
guys had that ability to like evaluate things with that
well,
lens.
you have an idea in your mind, you can get it done. Like it's all about what you want to get it done. So that's was basically it. So yes, it was a lot of research and it was hard to find the right people at the same time, but I think it was worth it. And now I'm happy and my husband steals my device every day. Oh, my face doesn't look good. I have a meeting. I'm like, give me back my stuff. Why are you taking my stuff? You know?
Okay, that's just husbands always do that, I think.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so, but how long did it take from like from when you had the idea to do it to getting it to market? How long did that take?
I think a year. I think so.
Okay, that's
But
not
there
terrible.
was an idea phase before that. I was like, how can we do
Yeah.
that? Can we do that? So it was about a year, I think.
Okay, that's, I mean, if I look, we worked on a hair mask for 2 years, could not get it right. I didn't feel it was good enough. We dropped the project because it just wasn't up to snuff, but it took 2 years and people
Oh,
also
that
did,
happens. That
yeah,
happens. Our eye cream took me a year and a half to formulate because for the eye cream, I want it in a bottle. I want it to be a concentrate. I want it to be a serum plus cream. At the same time, I didn't want it to crease under makeup and I wanted to absorb really fast. I wanted to see results yesterday. I mean, a year and
everything.
a half.
Yeah,
Yes. So every product you see on Avicena is a culmination of a lot of research. First, we look at every paper that's out there for every ingredient we're going to put in. Like, does it work with each other? What is the accepted and researched percentage for that ingredient? We
yeah,
have supplier data, but we need also third party done by a researcher data, that is not
yeah,
connected to the supplier, which I love. And if they're telling me the same story, I'm like, okay, we're putting this in.
yeah, it's
That
good.
works. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what, so you're somebody who just, I already know you come up, you have an idea and then you just decide you're going to do it. You're going to make it. So what's next? What else are you working on?
Uh, Stop
Not that
eating
you
ice
need
cream.
anything else to do.
Right.
Trust me.
That's my personal. Let's talk about personal. Stop eating ice cream because I get stressed. I eat ice cream, so that's besides the point. But what's next? First, I want to. It's been only maybe a week or two since we launched the Anka device. So my point is right now to introduce this
Yeah.
newness and
Focus
the
on
new
that.
technology to as much as people who needs it, you know? And
Yeah.
skincare, I love skincare, but sometimes as we age, we need something else to pick up the pace. And not everybody's rich enough to go to plastic surgery or dermatologist. So this device helps that. And I'm gonna say something. My dad was a transplant surgeon, and he
Yeah.
was trained as a general surgeon, and the general surgeons back then could do anything. I mean, they could even do plastic surgery. And I was talking to my dad, it was like, what would you think about me lifting my face when after 60 and everything? And there was this new spider thing you would put under, like it would pull up the face, but it was temporary. So we were talking about that. He was like, no, don't do that. You're gonna cut, like if they cut the nerve on your face, you'll be paralyzed for life, blah, blah, blah. And then what he said, do everything you can until the plastic surgery. If this is EMS therapy, if this is light therapy, if this is skincare, because skincare needs to be preventative, right?
Yeah.
It's like every skincare can be preventative, and that's how Avicena has been developed to be a preventative care against sensitivities, signs of inflammation, and all that. Device helps exercising your face because if your circulation is increased and if your facial muscles are strong, they're going to respond. Your skin is going to respond to everything good you put on your face in a better way. Like, think you went to the
Yeah.
gym, you worked out, you have good muscles, you're going to look good, and your skin going to look good. Same thing. So, what he said was, if you want to have plastic surgery, have it. But until then, do everything you can because even if you go through a plastic surgery, your surgeon is going to ask for good quality skin, healthy skin, and good quality muscles under the skin.
Yeah.
I mean, so plastic surgeons are not, they can't create a miracle. You need to do the work before you get there. So everything, every skincare, every device we have is preventative until you decide to get to that point. We're here.
So yeah, I mean, and maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I ever would get to the point where I decided, okay, I really need it now. Because you look at all the celebrities who've had plastic surgery,
Oh,
like
oh yeah.
it just looks so weird. But maybe it's also just a matter of perfecting some of these techniques, and by the time I'm ready for it, it'll be brilliant. Who knows? Who knows?
They're getting new techniques right now. They're doing the deep plane lifts now. Back in the day, the plastic surgery would only focus on the skin, but your muscle
Yeah,
still like sagging. Now they're trying to do the whole thing, and the technology is changing every day. So, like in beauty industry, we have
yeah,
better and stronger and more effective actives. Same thing with the surgeries, and it is not easy. Every surgery can turn out the other way and may get bad. I mean, there's a huge life risk there. So anything you can prevent and help your skin to
yeah.
that point, if you're
Like,
gonna have
why
it,
would
it's better.
exactly. Like, why wouldn't you try everything you can first, right? Try
That's why
all.
we came up with the device, with Anka device.
I love it. I think it sounds awesome. Um, okay, I may be getting one when we hang up. We'll see. I have to wait till I'm back in the US. So awesome. Well, this was a fantastic conversation. I always learn so much from you every time we talk because you always have such a good perspective on all this stuff, which is fascinating. And we could talk for hours, I think. Any last words that you want to share with people who are thinking, my skin is not looking quite as good as it used to. What can I do?
If they're seeing that, that's their skin talking to them, and you should listen. You should listen before it gets worse, because as it gets worse, it's harder to prevent it or correct it or defend it. And I would highly recommend, this could be our brand of Avicena, this could be any other brand. Do your due diligence, do your research, look at the ingredients, and if you're not satisfied and if you still have questions, reach out to the company and ask them questions. We're always here to answer.
Love that. Well, thank you, Ebru. Thanks for joining. And I hope that people really take all that you said to heart. And I can't wait to see what happens a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, how the industry changes, how our businesses change. Hopefully, we're still here.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, we're still here. But thank you, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you, Lynn. Great to be here.
Okay, see you later.